Hey guys, welcome back to Listen Bitch Presents Tell Me Why You're Special. This is the arena, honey. This is where people don't just talk about building, they actually do it. Where the long days, the pressure, the mistakes, the lessons, all of it gets put on the table because success is not clean. And if someone's telling you it is, they're lying. God did not call you to something easy. He called you to something that would stretch you, would shape you, refine you. So if you've been through it, that's not a liability. That is your message. And today's guest is Chris McManus, built a multi seven figure company straight out of high school and learned a lot of hard lessons getting there. I will say, I doubt that the universe waved a magic wand and just handed him everything easily. So I'm excited to get into this when you guys are like, he did what? Yeah, Chris, thank you so much for coming into the hot seat today. I start everybody out the gate with your give us your elevator pitch. Tell me and the audience who are you, what do you do, and what makes you special.
Oh gosh. Okay. Nothing really makes me special, that's for sure. Terrible with my elevator pitch. I should be better at it, but I am Chris McManus. I'm 29 years old. I live in North Carolina. Started a landscaping and pool company straight out of high school and grew it to around 4.5 million in revenue this year. Trying to get to a $25 million valuation. Yeah, and we do pretty much everything that fits into the terms landscaping or pools, whether that's kitchens, patios, fire pits,
Yeah.
pools, yards, sod, all the above.
Okay. So you're probably the youngest guest I've ever had. I will say that. Okay. I love that I caught you drinking water when I said that.
Yeah, we did. Well,
Um,
it's not water, but yeah,
this, oh, it's not cool. Can I guess what it is? No. Is it
absolutely.
5 o'clock somewhere?
It
Um,
is.
oh,
Yeah.
that's perfect. You started right out of high school, Chris, and I've got my oldest is like 23 or 24. She doesn't listen to my shows, thank God. And still really hasn't set herself on what she's doing. Um, so my question is, what made you bet on yourself that early?
I've had a couple people ask me that, and I don't know. I mean, I grew up racing kind of semi-professional motocross. That's what I always wanted to do since I was a kid.
Okay.
Made it far enough where I was making some money doing that, but it wasn't paying the bills.
Yeah.
And when I graduated high school, my parents were awesome, but they were kind of like, "Hey, like, if you can live here, but you need to pay your way."
Yeah.
So I was obviously still racing. So I was like, okay, I don't like school. I like working with my hands. I like working outside. And I need something flexible because I'm, going all over the country every weekend racing.
Yeah.
So, hey, I'll start mowing grass. Borrowed a lawnmower, borrowed a trailer, borrowed a weed eater, started mowing grass,
Yeah.
and kind of did those simultaneously for probably a year and a half, 2 years. It got to the point where the motocross thing just kind of hits you like a truck, but hey, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
So kind of in that same tone, though, like the landscaping company was starting to build a little momentum. I was making a little bit of money. I think I had maybe one employee. Um, and to be honest, coming from that motorcycle background, it's a very independent sport. Like, if you have a
Yeah.
bad race and you go out there and you suck, it's
Yeah.
on you. It's not
Yeah.
your teammates' fault.
Yeah.
Um, so I just kind of like, I knew I didn't want to do school. I didn't really have that many life skills, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just going to take all that drive and energy that I've put into racing, and I'm just going to put it in this business, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And here we
That
are.
yeah, that paints an incredible picture because you're doing what most adults my age and sometimes older still haven't even figured out. Number one, you were already doing like hard, scary shit. Okay, motocross is, it's a thrill. Like, so what the hell's going to scare you? Certainly not trying to get business to mow a lawn. That's not terrifying. You're not flipping a motorcycle in the air when you're doing that, right? Like, so I think that paints an incredible picture. And then there's the point of you're like, I know what I don't want to do. I talk to adults, like by adults, I mean old ass people like myself, and they still don't get that secret. Like, cool, you may not know what you want to do, but like zero in on what you don't want to do. If school's not for you, obviously you're going to be working with your hands. You're going to be doing entrepreneurial stuff or, trade stuff. I don't know. But like you figured that out. So that paints an incredible picture. Um And you have these people who are like, this kid, multi seven figures. Blah. I want you to tell them, like, what does it actually take to get there? Because I know you didn't get the magic wand. I know you didn't have some secret blessing bestowed upon you where everybody suddenly had no one else to go to but you. So paint us the picture of like what it really takes.
I don't want to be dramatic here,
I
so
love
don't.
drama. It's fine.
Honestly, if I could go back and tell my 21-year-old self, like, hey, this is what we're going to go through, this is what we're going to deal with, I don't know if I'd had the balls to do it, just to be totally honest. I mean,
Hard.
again, I still don't mean to be like dramatic or sound like a pussy, but it's just, I mean, to this day, frankly, I mean, it wasn't, I was sitting in this office, I don't know, 3, 4 months ago at 9 o'clock at night, bawling my eyes out,
Yeah.
just stressed to the moon. And it's like, of course, I don't really tell anybody that, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely hard. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat that, but it's
Right.
also, you know, I don't really have anything to compare it to because I don't really know anything else. This is kind of all I've done. But
Yeah.
while, yeah, it's like super hard, it's also the most gratifying thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And I was telling somebody yesterday, I said, in my opinion, like entrepreneurship is 80%, it absolutely sucks. And then 10% of the time it's tolerable. And then 10% of the time it is the greatest singular thing that you're ever going to feel or do.
Yeah.
And, my kind of goal was to swing those percentages a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing that I've learned about entrepreneurship is what's happening. And I'm sure you've seen that happen in what the decade, almost a decade that you've been doing it. The way that it's going to, this is what makes it hard, I feel like. And you could tell me your version, but it's, you really have to see yourself in a lot of this. Like you have to face yourself. It exposes so much of you. And as you grow, that hurts. It does suck. I can't stand the conversation where someone comes on here and isn't willing to be honest about that because nobody can relate to that, and people do need to be prepared to be able to face themselves. And I don't know if prepared's the word, um, but just like, to understand you didn't have it easy. And I think so many people look at people that have money and they're like, ugh, his dad probably his dad probably did it for him.
Gosh.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like people are just so they just don't have a clue. And I'm
No.
like, you guys have no idea what it takes to be at that level, what it's asked of you personally. So what do you think has been that transition um for you of like just stepping into really becoming a man and evolving and being able to learn to face like it stretches you.
Oh, yeah, it stretches you in ways that, yeah, I could have never dreamed of.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's like any one thing. I think it's just like a compounding effect, of all these small little things. Like there
Yeah.
are instances, I mean, to this day, I had two guys on my team quit yesterday, just out of the blue.
Oh.
Um, and we're a team, we're 20 plus people now, I
Yeah.
think, so less of an effect. But even 3 years ago, I mean, I'd have lost sleep for a week. Like, oh my gosh, how am I going to replace them? They were good guys. Like, that's going to really screw us for a month or two. And now it's just kind of like, and that's probably not the greatest example, but it's just like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it sucks, but it's part of it.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. We'll move on. We're fortunate enough. I've got 30, 40 people knocking on my door trying to come to work. So
Yeah.
we'll sift through a couple of them, pick a couple of good ones, and, we won't miss a beat, just to
Yeah.
be frank.
I would take that as a
Um,
level of rejection. I would be like, okay, they just
oh,
rejected me just
100%.
like I'm taking care
Yes.
of them. And like that eats at you. I don't care who you are, how long you've been doing this. Like that's kind of a slap. Dude, someone tells me
This.
no on Podmatch and I'm like about to cry. I'm like, why would you not come on my show? What is wrong with me? No, it's
Yeah. And it
rejection.
does. I mean, it's to this day, but I think, and I'm fortunate over the years, I've kind of developed some relationships with, frankly, I see them as mentors, but
Yeah.
people that are in, other businesses that are much more successful than mine.
Yep.
And it's just, they're like, look, man, nothing, whether you're a $5 million business or a $20 million business or a $40 million business, it's kind of the same problems.
Yeah.
You just get better at handling those problems.
It's the growing and the stretching and the becoming. And that's why when people look at someone, when you're 40, when you're my age, you're 49 years old, you're going to look back and be, people can look at that chapter and be like, wow, this is really easy for him. And they're never going to see what happened from 19 to 49. They're never going to see the sleepless nights, or, the breakdowns, or, the baseball bat to whatever you could find in the garage. They're never going to see that stuff. And so then that's where I think they lose that respect for a journey, and then they don't even try, you know? What did Okay, I feel like there's always a price. When you build something like this, when you're in that entrepreneurial thing, I feel like there's a cost. What did this cost you that nobody sees?
Mm, well, so I don't know. I mean, my wife could probably answer that better than I could,
Yeah.
because she honestly, I think she pays the biggest price. But I think I was 25 and I started getting gray hairs at 25 years old. That irritated the hell out. And that's petty,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
you put on 15, 20 pounds of weight that you
Yep.
just can't seem to lose. Lost pretty much all my friends from high school, um, save but a select few, because these guys are getting out of college and hey, let's go hang out, let's go play golf, let's go do whatever. And it's like,
And
no,
you're
dude, I'm
in.
working.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, dude, it's Sunday. I'm like, yeah, bro, like I'm working. Like I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sorry. Like I got, I got plans.
Yeah.
And eh, again, like I'm not complaining. Like I'm nothing that I've lost, I would take back. Like it's no big
Yeah.
deal. It's a filter is what it is. And you find
Yeah.
out the people that you really want around you. And honestly, it's kind of flipped, because like my first couple years, I was, ripping 80, 90, 9,500 hour weeks. It
Yeah.
was just normal. And like, it didn't bother me. I mean, I didn't have anything else to do. I was just
Yeah.
working. Wasn't married, didn't have any kids.
Yep.
And it's kind of flipped now, where like the last 2.5 years or so, probably 2 years, where it's like, okay, maybe we don't work 80 hours anymore. Maybe we like back that down to
Mhm.
like 60. And
Yeah.
I've got a little boy at home, and I've kind of learned over the years, like, I feel a lot better on Monday morning if I give myself a little bit of that self care, maybe Saturday,
Yep.
Sunday, and we go out on the lake or ride motorcycles, or just go for a run, whatever. That's It's a lot more important, and it still makes me grit my teeth even saying it, but you got to do it. Like
Yeah.
you got to take care of yourself first.
Yeah. I was that a hard lesson? I mean, did you have like that moment where, you know, everyone waits for the big moment? I feel like the big thing, like crazy business guy CEO has a freaking heart attack before he's like, okay, I need to slow down. Did you have a big moment, or is this just an awareness that you're understanding through the growing that you're experiencing?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a huge light bulb moment, but I mean, yeah, there's been multiple instances. Like, I go back 2 years ago, we just bought our first business. It was absolutely crazy hectic. I was working like crazy. I had, at that point, I've been in the game like 5 years. I had nothing to show for it. I mean, we have just a tiny little house that we still live in to this day.
Yeah.
I drove an old van that I used to race motorcycles out of, because
Yep.
every dollar I made, I was putting back into my company.
Yep.
So it kind of got to like a month or two of that, and I was just so, I don't want to say burnout, but I guess maybe it was some burnout.
Yeah.
So like, I drove over to Ford dealership and bought a $80,000 Mach 1 Mustang, just kind of spur of the moment. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've always wanted one of these, so I
Yeah.
want to buy it. And I think that was probably a big moment where it's like, again, it's okay to like, you got to take care of yourself a little bit
Breathe.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. um, Kind of the same thing last year. We had doubled in size again, and we had bought out a pool company. And again, super busy, all good things for the most part. And me and my wife were house shopping. We were thinking, okay, we're going to get a lake house. Like, it's something we both always wanted. So we were
Yeah.
shopping. We offered on a couple of them. We kept getting outbid. And then it kind of got to a point where it's like, it was probably midsummer. And I'm like, okay, like, screw it. I'm not dealing with this year. I got too much going on. So, then I went out and bought just a ridiculously overpriced wake boat.
Right.
Um, and we love it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
probably the stupidest decision I've ever made financially, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it back. Like,
Right.
that's my reset. We go out every weekend in the summer, and that I don't mean that as like advice. Like, don't go blow a bunch of money, because that
Yeah.
seems to be my habit. But
Yeah.
again, it's okay to kind of take care of yourself a little bit so you don't get so burnt out. Like you got to reward yourself for everything a little bit, I think sometimes.
Yeah. No, I think it's human nature to be able to see the reward in something you're doing, and I feel like you restrain for so long that that's why it's the
Yeah.
big spend, right? You're like, I it's been like 5 years, I'm done. I have to have it. This is it, you know. So I there absolutely no judgment. I love that for you, and you worked your ass off for it, you know. So there should never be like any sort of wasn't a dumb decision, especially if you guys are happy. I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, what is the hardest lesson? Because I know, you know, you're in the arena, you're getting your ass kicked. That's all there is to it. There's no like you're getting your ass kicked. But what is the hardest lesson that you learned that kind of pulled you to make changes in this experience?
I think probably the most painful one was, again, like the first 5 years in business, my financial knowledge was horrible. And it's still not great, but it was really bad.
Yeah.
And my basically, measuring stick of financial success was like, okay, hey, there's more money in my checking account this month than there was last month. Wasn't looking at P&Ls, wasn't looking at daily rate, wasn't looking at anything other than, yep, more money in my checking account. Okay, we're doing something right. And that worked for a while. And then we started getting to a size where it's a little bit more complex and it's a little bit more complex and the jobs are bigger and the jobs are longer and maybe you don't get paid as fast. And
Yeah.
that burned me multiple times. I mean, I think in 2023, we lost like 150 grand in 1 month. Um, 2024 was just a survival year, digging out of that hole.
Yeah.
Last year, we lost over 100 grand in 1 month. Um, and it's like, okay, now we got to dig out of that hole. And it's the one last year was really like the eye opener because we had so many people working for us
Yeah.
where I'm like, oh God, like we have to make payroll. Like we got to pay all this. We got high overhead now because we got a bunch
Yeah.
of trucks and a bunch of guys and blah blah blah. And it's like if I don't improve personally on this number, I'm going to run this business into the ground.
Yeah.
And that was a huge wake up call. And I have done nothing since but study, research, and then implement on
Yeah.
those basically on financial targets. And we're not completely out of the hole that I put us in yet, but we're night and day ahead of where we were even 6 months ago. And that was definitely one of the most painful. And that's something anybody that'll listen is like, understand your numbers and
Right.
your daily costs and all that stuff. And then make sure you're updating those as you buy a truck or buy, some real
Yeah.
estate or buy some equipment. Like make sure you're, kind of constantly checking on those numbers and making sure they're right because, you'll be busy, 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 busy. And all of a sudden like, oh shit, like I have no
Yeah.
money.
Right.
Like we're doing all this work and I'm busting my ass, but I'm broke.
Right.
And I think if I'd done a better job of that out of the gate, I think we'd be several years ahead of where we're at now, to be honest with you.
But I think the harder the lesson is, the better you come on the other side of it, you know? Like,
Oh, yeah,
so
100%.
I think this will benefit you kind of in the long run in that experience. And plus, like, you're doing it the hard way, which means coming on shows like this and being able to tell people, like, learn from my mistake. And you have an incredible voice. You're good at, you know, this conversation. So it's just one of those things of like, use your potential, help other people in this moment for that. But I'm thinking like, you know, you're thinking about payroll and all this stuff. What is the pressure like? Because you've got people depending on you, not just the employees, but like, you know, if that pressure of like you have to make payroll, you don't want to disappoint them, and then if I lose employees, I'm letting down clients, I have to call them and tell them we can't do the job. Like, holy, how do you deal with all that pressure?
Can I say bourbon? Is that okay,
Yeah.
or do we need to like cut
Nope.
that out?
This is the Listen Bitch presents.
Yeah.
You're in good company.
No, I mean I don't. This is going to come across arrogant, and I don't want it to, but it's hard. Don't get me wrong, because like it's
Yeah.
to the point now where between employees and vendors and their families, I mean, there's hundreds of people that are counting on us to make sure we can pay our bills.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that all falls on me.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily look at it like that on a day to day. I look at it more in the granular. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, if we do this right and we do this right and we do this right, everything else will fall in place.
Yep.
Like we'll hit our numbers, we'll hit our targets, cash will be collected, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, and this is kind of always my way of handling pressure is like, okay, I've got this deadline, I've got this problem that I need to solve. Well, that'll eat at me. I won't sleep, I won't eat
Yeah.
until I have a plan to overcome it.
Yeah.
And then once I have the plan, I'm good. So as
Yeah.
long as I have a plan, there's not stress involved. There's okay, follow the plan. Simple as that. And that's
Yeah.
just how my brain works.
Yeah. I can relate to that. Um, Chris, what do you think separates someone who wants to build something like this from someone who actually does it?
It's going to sound super cliche, so I'm just going to apologize in advance.
Yeah,
But
no apologies here. Just come as you
it's
are.
I think it's the grind.
Yeah.
I think all these people talk a big game, but when it comes down to it, they can't. I don't mean to be a dick, but they can't. They
Yeah.
just they don't they can't grind.
The
Not at the level that you
excuses
have to grind.
outweigh the desire to want to have change. It is so frustrating to watch that in people because I think how much different could your life be if you stopped being a victim and you actually did something with your life. Like you
Yeah.
stop blaming everyone and actually like did something. Then you stop hating all the people like Chris who make all the money and you think it comes easy to them. Like walk a mile in his shoes, right? Do you think though, because I've do you think that motocross like planted a whole thing in you about grit and determination and commitment and discipline? Because that takes a lot. That's like a whole
Mhm.
lifestyle.
It is, and I think motocross really builds the independence part because yeah, like you may have some mechanics or a sponsor or whatever, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's on you. If you finish first or you finish last, it's on you. Like you're
Yeah.
the only one out there. And but to be honest with you, I think all athletics really translate well to business and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I think motocross is a little bit better just because if you play football or baseball or soccer and you go out
Yeah.
there and crush it and have a rock star game, well, if the
Yeah.
rest of your team sucks, you're still going to lose.
Yeah.
It's not the case with motorcycles. Like I said, it's just you. So I think it translates a little better because instead of complaining and bitching about everybody else, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
no, it's my problem, so I got to fix it. It's on me.
Yeah. I see that. I really don't see golf and baseball as like the grinding types though. I don't know if I would take all the sports like that, but yeah, I get
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
it. um the multiple businesses. How do you stay focused and is there a goal down the road for you to kind of be like super hands off? Like it's just Chris is going to check in with his main guy and you know, get to hang out at the lake house with your beautiful wife and son all day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. The real estate thing kind of started a couple of years ago. The business is a little bit smaller. I've always liked it. You always hear all these stories. Everybody's got all this wealth from real estate and rental houses and all this stuff. And I just like doing that stuff. Like when we bought our little house, I fixed it all up and
Yeah.
all this. And so as my landscaping company got a little bit bigger, we had some cash. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to go throw 100 G's at this house, buy it for nothing, and fix it up, and then I'm going to flip it. So, I don't. That's nothing crazy. Like I try to do about two or three of those a year, whether we do
Yeah.
fix and flips or just rentals, because you know I, I don't have a 401k. Like I
Yeah.
don't have a retirement account,
Yep.
so I'm not really worried about that. But it's like, hey, why don't we use a little bit of surplus income? It's at the end of the day, like I'm a contractor, so
Yeah.
I can run a renovation or a build just like I can run one of my job sites. It's
Yeah.
kind of just hand in hand. So it doesn't really take a lot of my time. And I've always, again, come from landscaping. I feel like on the design part of things, I'm
Yeah.
pretty comfortable doing that stuff. So try to do just a couple of those a year. Like I said, we've got some rentals, and then I've fixed and flipped too. Try to stay on the rental side of it just for that long term gain.
Yeah.
Um, and then the retail store with the pools, that's a little bit longer of a story, I guess. But I've always wanted to do pools. We used to landscape right up to these things, and I just kept turning them down. Like they wouldn't be happy with their current pool contractor, and they'd be like, "Hey, why don't you use
Yeah.
Purple?" And well, no, we don't do that. Blah blah. And I grew up kind of watching that Insane Pool show,
Yeah.
and
That's
I was like,
exactly what I
man,
was thinking. I'm like,
yeah,
you get to
yeah,
put that all together.
yeah, and I love that. Like, man, it'd be so cool to build stuff like that. And so anyway, I got tired of turning these things down, and it's like, it really doesn't look like it's that hard, just kind of watching it happen from the sidelines. So I put some feelers out, probably close to 2 years ago, and just found a local smaller company. The seller was kind of wanting to retire, start slowing down, and met with them a bunch, and ended up getting a deal worked out. And we bought them out, and I wanted it for like the construction side. I wasn't really
Yeah.
looking at like the retail side, but it is a package deal.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, something new. We'll figure it out. It's kind of like
Right.
I'm really bad about like taking a really big bite and not really thinking about how to chew it and swallow it until after the
Hey,
fact.
it's worked this far.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for the most part. um, so now we did that, and that's been really cool. I mean, I'm pretty hands off with that one. Like
Yeah.
you know, phone call or two a week is about all I do.
Nice.
But we're very fortunate. We were able to keep all the existing employees and all that knowledge. I put another girl in there to help run kind of like a management role to
Yeah.
kind of just give me a hand. But that's been really cool. I've got to fly around the country a little bit and meet some of our vendors and suppliers. It's a really cool industry as a whole.
Yeah.
We've really enjoyed the construction side of it, kind of learning that, meeting the people, and you know, landscaping's great, and
Yeah.
I love the landscaping. But like, there's just something special. Like you put a pool in somebody's backyard that
Yeah.
they've dreamed of for 20 years. Like that's a lot of gratification doing something
Yeah.
like that.
But I think the pool and the landscaping, because it's cool if you have a cool
Yeah.
pool, but if the landscape sucks, it takes away from the magic of that. So I feel like the fact that you could do, and you
Oh,
double sell, right? Like, could do your pool, but
yeah,
like, wow, this is going to look so boring. Don't you feel like you
yeah,
need some this over here, some this over here? And yeah, you get to paint a
yeah,
whole creative picture. I think that's amazing. What
yeah.
is one non negotiable in your life that keeps you grounded while you're in the grind right now?
It's a deep question. I think the biggest thing for me is probably right now, or really most of my life, just being consistent.
Yeah.
So like now, as my role has evolved, you know, I don't really get to go out in the field anymore. I don't get to run the equipment. I do some of the selling, not a whole lot. Um, so it's really just being consistent with like as I build, as we build systems or we implement new strategies, it's be consistent, make sure they're getting followed up, make sure we're doing them. We're not going to do this for
Yeah.
2 weeks and then let it fly off because we got busy. So I don't want to say it's more of like an enforcer role, but it's more of just make sure we are consistent and then make sure we're doing the right things with our time and money.
Yeah. I think that's great. I have one final question. If everything that you built, and you said you weren't sure if you knew then what you know now, if you'd be doing the same thing, I guess it'd be a two-part question. What do you think would have become of you, and if everything literally that you built disappeared tomorrow, would you trust yourself to start over?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I say that, but yeah, like I could get to where I'm at now in a year. I think like
Yeah.
I could have never learned all those lessons without going through it. But
Yep.
there's even parts of me to say is like, because we've got some baggage and like debt service and stuff now that it is what it is. But it's like, dude, if I could start fresh, knowing what I know now, like, oh my God, we'd be off to the races. Like we could
Yeah.
do this so quick and so clean. So yeah, I would 100% do it again. And my whole goal with this business is to exit it. Like I don't want to be doing this when I'm 50, 60. Like
Yeah. Right.
it's not that I don't like it, but that's just not, it's never been me. Like I want to build it up, build it up, build it up, sell it, exit it clean.
Yep.
And then knowing me, I'd like to say I'd take a year or two off, but that would probably be like a month or two. And then
Yeah.
my wife would be ready to kill me. But yeah, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm bored. I gotta do
Yeah.
something.
And that's it. I couldn't imagine someone that has been hands on their whole life to just be like, all right, I'm retiring and sit in a
Yeah.
chair. Like that's,
Uh,
you'd go crazy. Probably not even a
yeah.
month. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's always the wife. Always the wife. Find something to do, honey. My
Yeah.
husband's like, when are you gonna retire me? Ooh,
Not not
never,
not not quite yet.
never. Can you get a job at Walmart at 65? Because whatever to get you out of the house. No.
Yeah. You could
Um,
be you could be the greeter.
exactly. So, Chris, this is the part where I get to tell you what I think makes you special. And it's not just the numbers, but that really is fucking incredible. Like you have killed it. But I it's the fact that not only stepping in early, you took massive responsibility. You've owned your shit from day one and you stayed in it long enough to create something amazing. And you didn't wait for perfect timing. You didn't wait for someone to show you how. You were willing to go through the gauntlet, to be in the arena, to figure it out, and you keep going even when you get knocked down. And I know that it is an ass kicking. This is you are living the story of what separates builders from talkers, and I think that's incredibly special. I think it's amazing that you're just doing it, no excuses, not even when it's hard, and you just show up. And a lot of people can learn a lot from you, a lot of people my age even. But imagine, you know, I want my son to listen to this episode. My 16-year-old just listened to this. He, does he want college? I don't know. Like he's back and forth, but like figure out what you don't want, make it super easy, and then just go do the damn thing. And he wants to work with his hands. He wants to build. He wants to do that stuff. So anyway, I think you're amazing. I think what you have is incredible, and I'm definitely going to pray a blessing over your business. I think it's going to be incredible. Continue the growth, and praying for you to get the hell out of there soon. For everyone listening, you guys have to stop waiting for the perfect setup. You don't need it. It doesn't exist. God didn't give you the vision just to watch you sit on the couch and binge Netflix. You're meant to build something, to move, and to figure shit out as you go, to be bold and consistent and magnetic. And please remember, you guys, your mess is your message. The mistakes, the lessons, the things you learn the hard way, that is your edge. That's your edge. And if you've been feeling that pull to actually do something with your voice, to share what you're building, what you're learning, what you've been through, you don't have to overthink it. I created a podcast support group where you can be a guest and share your story, or start a story, start a podcast of your own, or whatever it looks like. Come on the show and share your story. It's the place to start to get clarity and actually move without all the bullshit in the back. So if it's been on your mind, come join me in there. If this episode means something to you, if you feel this somewhere, please share it with someone who needs it. Okay. Maybe you guys have, 19-year-olds that need to know it's absolutely possible to do the damn thing. And if you guys are ready for the hot seat, come tell me why you're special. Chris, thank you so much for your time today. This was awesome.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the kind words. This is great. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.